everybody. Welcome back to the Subby podcast. I'm joined by Pooja this evening. Now, we have already done, I think, one or two panels together. I think two.
I think we've done one panel together and then one where I volunteered someone else to talk. So I think we had the pre-talk at that.
You were supposed to turn up, but you didn't. At least you turned up for this one. This is a good start. It's a good start. So
I'm all about giving others opportunities.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, I'm just glad you did do that this evening because I would have been sat here on my own like a plum for a while. But there we go. So let's jump in. Tell us a bit about what you do in the industry and a bit about yourself.
So I've been in the industry now for 7 years. I am a civil engineer. I went through quite the traditional route. So I did a degree course, I got a graduate scheme, and I've been with the company for 7 years. I've done a bit in building. I've done a bit in civils, and civils is where my heart lies. So currently I'm working as a site agent. And I think what really drew me to your talk and the whole thing with Subby is that I've worked on quite small jobs. And so my subbies and the relationship with the subbies and the people on site that I've worked with has always been key to those projects. I think especially on a smaller site where you really get to know each other and you're so reliant on each other, that's been really important to me. And I think the conversations that you're having, that we had, are great. So I'm really excited to get into that today.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of the panel that we did together, that was around mental health, wasn't it? And we kind of, I don't know if we went there by following the course of it or we just went our own way with it, but we ended up getting into the subjects of stress, didn't we? And is it a bit of a buzzword? Is it underplayed, overplayed, and how much really is it affecting people? And I think you've got a really interesting story, and I think definitely this is why I wanted to get you on, because you're a normal person, right? Just a normal. There's so many more people like you, right? Who are probably
some people might say I'm not quite normal, but, but yeah, I am normal.
The people you work on a day-to-day basis, they're like watching this going, no, I think you got the wrong idea here. No. But these are people that hopefully, like I said about this podcast, is we want people to listen and go, oh, shit, that's me. Oh, that James is talking about me, or Pooja's talking about me. Okay. So please, kick off where you want to go from and tell us a bit about it.
So I love what I do. I absolutely love it. And some people say it's an addiction for me. And I call myself now a recovering workaholic, which I think the industry is full of. And I've always been driven. I love what I do. And I just keep on going. And, you get involved and you get embedded in sites. And something for me, I've always moved for projects. I've spent 7 years moving to different projects because the company will tell me about a project. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And then they're like, it's in South Wales or it's in Newcastle. And before I know it, I'm 6-7 hours away from home. And so I think the thing with the industry is that it's so easy to get sucked into that. And I think whether you're a main contractor, a subby, whatever, when you're working away from home, work is your life for that week. And so you don't have an incentive to go back to the hotel or your lodge. And you don't have an incentive to go and meet people because you're like, I'm here for 6 months or I'm here for a year. And work becomes your bubble. And places like Hinckley and, where they're huge super projects and there's this whole infrastructure around it, I think that's why they have stuff like the gyms and, the campuses, because they're so aware that these areas are literally just for people.
Become like a makeshift community, right? Essentially, it's like its own world within a world, right? Like Hinckley, like you say, it becomes a small micro community of people, doesn't it?
Yeah, and when you're surrounded by people in construction and then you talk to someone outside of construction, they're like, what sort of hours do you do? And you're like, oh, we start at 7:30, maybe earlier. And they're like, what? I'm just getting up at that time.
Oh, I know.
And it's those little things that when people mention them, that you're like, okay, maybe we're a bit different. And so my story sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say the one where you're saying about how people react to construction. I think the one biggest thing for me is always, I have friends work in marketing or whatever, that kind of stuff. They go, oh yeah, well, yeah, we always as a company we block out 2 till 4 o'clock to get our own stuff done. Like, what? You no day goes. I don't know about you, Pooja. You might be very good at what you're doing, but it seems to be with me, the construction company that I work for, alongside Subby, nothing goes to plan. Everything, you think, oh, I've got an hour here, wrong, and it's taken away from you. And this is where these hours, these days, like you say, is it the nature of the beast? I don't know. But yeah, it's a key point you're touching on there for sure.
And I think things just roll. In construction, you have to be flexible, but sometimes are we too flexible to
Yeah,
changes and we're too accepting of it? And, I had family, friends pointing out that, Pooja, your work takes up a lot of your life. And I'm like, oh, but I love it. And then outside of work, I do things like this, which I love doing, and, celebrating the industry and also talking about
outwork.
what we can improve. And then I volunteer for charities that encourage STEM and support construction. Then we do stuff with the CIOB and the ICE. And so even sometimes my social life is linked to work, which when you think about is a bit sad, and it just consumes more and more. And then because you're enjoying it, you're like, no, it's fine.
Mm,
And so for me, I was on this wheel, I was keeping going, and I love what I do, I still do, but it was just consuming more and more. And because you're enjoying it, I've never suffered from mental illness, and I'm really privileged in that, because I know not everyone can say that,
yeah,
and that's somewhere where I'm more privileged than others. And then so I unfortunately fell physically ill and got diagnosed with a chronic condition. And I took a step back and I started looking at different things. And one thing that we did was, my nutritionist said to me, let's do an adrenaline. Let's look at your adrenaline. And
okay.
again, I know I'm privileged and not many people would be able to do that, I was able to go and do that privately. And my adrenaline was just mental, James. She was like, what have you been doing with your life? She was
Yeah,
like, is this my
I wouldn't even think of it to be something that I don't know. It's
no?
like you talk about in a film, like movies. You don't, it's not, it's not
And
something we all have. But yeah, go on.
but if you think about it, you were just saying, like, nothing goes to plan. And that's part of what we love. Something goes wrong and the heart gets racing and you're like, oh God, I've got a deadline. And that's the rush. And that's the rush that we live for, isn't it? A part of it is.
Yeah, maybe.
James is like, I don't know what you're talking about. But
Something.
it, like, not when it's too big, but when something goes a bit wrong and you're like, I can sort this out, or we can sort this out as a team. And or someone's pushing you for a deadline and we hit it, and but you've worked so hard to get
Yeah,
there. And it's that thing that I was like, I've probably I've moved around a lot, and I've done work with possessions, and I have had times of stress, but I've been okay. And and it just really made me think about, what am I doing to my body and how stressed is it? Because she was like, okay, mentally you might not feel stressed, but your body's under stress.
mm,
And I recently got a mentor about 6 months ago, and I was taking him through my career, and we were talking about it, and I said, this thing's come up and we're talking about stress. And I said, because I've never been depressed over it, and I've always just muddled through. And then he said, but Pooja, did it not affect you mentally, that stress? And I
yeah.
think what's important is that I didn't outwardly display my stress. So
Hmm.
it's that whole thing of the stigma around these things in construction. You just get on with it. You just get on with it and it's fine and you do it. And so you're not thinking about stress and how it's affecting you. You talk about being stressed, but you don't actually talk about anxiety and how is the job, are you thinking about the job too much? Like,
Mm.
are you dreaming about bridge lifts? Are you dreaming about, that side of things? And are you waking up at 3 in the morning thinking, did I order that?
So what was just to be clear? So you knew there was something wrong, but there wasn't a symptom or something that was screaming to you that right, something is not right here. That I'm not right.
So I just my ill health was like disattached to stress, so it's got nothing to do with stress, and the adrenaline is just a side thing. But
Yeah,
it's just that thing of in construction, we're all doing crazy hours, we're all doing long hours, and you're just carrying on and you're taking on more. And there's days like you were talking about how you're trying to get your guys to take a couple of days off before Christmas, and they're
yeah.
just not they're just
Nice.
like, why would we do that? Like, why are you trying to give us time off? And it's that thing. And I just started thinking, is it a mentality thing? Is it just that we're so used to working? My dad's a Sparky, and even now, he's in his 50s, and some days he's working 7 days a week. And I'm like, what are you doing? Where's your
Yeah,
day off? You've worked so hard. But it's just that mentality that I think sometimes, especially if you're self-employed, which I'm not, you just can't turn down work, can you? And you just, especially I think where COVID's come in and how much that hurt and scared people, does that fear get into you of like, if I say no, I'm saying no to money and work, and where that line comes in?
it's interesting because you do. I think back to it. I think I've never had. I mean, what is it? I don't even know what the statutory. What is the statutory holiday you get in a PA? I don't even. I think I don't even know.
I don't
Uh,
know.
Probably something I should know. To be
Isn't
fair.
that terrible that we don't know?
Right. So what a great example of the conversation we're having here. So you don't. I don't even know. Let's just. I don't know. Let's just say it's 20. I think it's like 20 or 25 days, something like that. But
Yeah,
there's someone
something.
telling you, "Come and work for me," and you can definitely have 24, 25 days covered holiday a year, right? That's fine. That's part of the package. Great. Well, if you're like us, you're saying, well, I'm going to not earn any money for 24 days, 25 days. And it's a
If
big,
you're a subby or you're self-employed, yeah.
and you're on the wheel of that, right? You're on the wheel of that with everything, whether it's a friend's wedding or a weekend away or whatever. If you're losing a Friday, you're losing a Monday, or and I think you're onto something there. Definitely, it's this part and parcel of being self-employed, which is something I'm trying to, because I know we have the direct stresses and everything that come with construction, the late payments, the hours, everything like that. But I do think that there's other factors that cause us
Mm,
stress. Oh, well, we're just self-employed. Oh, well, just get on with it. And everyone's outlook
yeah,
on it. Well, it's all good for them because they choose what day of the week they work. Well, that's not
yeah.
very true.
And
On
when
the
you get asked for favors, can you just do this for me? Can you just can you
always the
just
way.
do
As soon as I finished, as soon as I came home with my papers, my car was right qualified, everyone in my family wanted a new set of shelves.
this?
It's like they think, wow, it doesn't work on a Monday or a Tuesday. It can just come fit some shelves. But no, I think you're definitely onto something. So what have you implemented or what have you done then to try and, I don't know, how would you say it, take back some control or
I
de-stress?
think what it was is just acknowledging it. And I
Yeah.
think it's just that. And that's the link to mental health for me, is that I was like, but I don't suffer from a mental illness and I feel fine. I'm not like crying every night. I'm not, you know, I'm I didn't think I was stressed. And that's the biggest thing. And I think that's the thing with mental health, and what you guys are doing is great, because you just think that's not me. I'm
Mm,
fine. I'm fine. But
yeah.
then I looked back at my relationships with my friends, with my family, with other people, and you just think, oh God, was I giving those relationships 100%? Was
Mm.
I actually there when I thought I was there? And one of my friends said to me, he was like, but you manage your relationships fine. But I wasn't sleeping, James. I'd like finish. I remember one weekend, I finished a night shift, got on a train to Leeds to go and do a day festival and drinking to like prove I still had it. And then like I was up until 1 that night. I think I had a couple of naps on the train. And because I didn't want to miss out on the weekend, but I had work, and And then, like, if you're doing that again and again, and you're like, yeah, my relationships are fine, but how much are you actually giving those relationships? And I
only,
think that's,
only so long it's going to last for, right? Before
I
you go,
know. And I think, I'm really lucky that I'm still quite young in my career. And I
yeah,
had so many people say to me, like, manage your work-life balance, manage your stress as early as you can, because it's harder when you're older. And I think going back to that self-employed thing, you know, when dad was starting off his company, and I'm sure the same for you and everyone, you're getting started and you have to take all the jobs because you need the recommendations. But where does that point come where that stops? And I think it's the same for me when I was employed. You're trying to push and you're trying to develop in your career and you want to learn. So you're taking every opportunity. But when do you need to start? When is that too much? And I think that's what we as an industry
yeah,
don't know. And is that the way? Should we, like, being self-employed, it's hard, isn't it? Because how else do you build your business apart from putting in that blood, sweat, and tears at the beginning?
yeah,
When you're employed, you know, was it my fear that I like gave into all those opportunities to go? Because like, they weren't being forced upon me.
yeah,
And I think for me, that change was accepting that the way that I was operating wasn't healthy for me. And as much as I thought I wasn't stressed, my mentor asking me, did it really affect your mental health though? Are you so sure it didn't harm you? Really made me think.
yeah. Because I
And
mean,
I
but
think this is what, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, because even still, right, really, you're very honest about that there was a problem, but still, really, you've not said to me, James, I kept getting chronic headaches. James, I don't know, I fell over because I was so tired and banged my head. You've not given me
I
one
think
like.
I'm still slightly in denial. Shall I
No,
tell you
I'm
what was really
questioning this.
bad?
This is a
Oh,
podcast.
okay. This is
I'd just
this
like to
is
say
honest. This is
this is a podcast, not a therapy session. Okay, I'm just trying to get one. There must be. You must be able to give me
yeah.
one.
So this is how I know that I've got better. I suffer from eczema,
Okay.
and I couldn't open my eyes properly, and my eyes were like completely like covered in eczema and sores. And I went home, and my mum was like, "You're stressed," and I was like, "No, I'm not." And she was like, "Picture, you can't open your eyes," and
Right.
you're
So
like, eczema's
we've
linked to
got a
your
solution now.
stress,
We've
and
got a
my
solution.
whole back was covered in eczema. But because I'd suffered from eczema as a kid, I refused to correlate the two.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you now, since I've been working on my stress, I haven't had eczema. I haven't had eczema at all in the past 2.5 years. And that's not because my workload's changed or, it has changed, but I'm more honest with myself. And, I am a female. I'm a bit different in construction. I work for a contractor, my work colleagues won't recognize me because normally I have my glasses on, my hair a bit frizzy. But, I'm a stereotypical personality in construction in that I'm just like, oh, just get on with it. Oh, it'll be fine. And like, no, I'm fine. And I don't want to talk about it. And I was just like, oh my God, I've fallen into the trap that we
Yeah.
all fall into. And that's why I think this is so important to
Yeah. So
talk about.
so give us there might only be one, but give us one, two, or three examples of is what you've implemented. I don't know, into your morning or into your day or something
I'm
you
cringing
or
even
some
thinking about it because my mum was like, you need to do yoga. And I was like, Mum,
yoga.
you work in childcare. And I was like, I know you love your yoga. I don't think it's for me. I was like, I like a bit of F1 on the weekends and, I love a night out and going out to eat. I was like, I think I'm too busy for yoga. Yoga's one. I now do like a morning, just 5 minutes stretch thing. Um, I actually go to bed on time, James. I go to bed at like 10 o'clock and get
Okay.
up at the same time every day on the weekends. And that is just crazy because when you're working ridiculous hours, or whether you're choosing to or whether you feel it's forced upon you, you finish at 8 o'clock, then you go and eat, then you shower, then you're trying to wind down and what time I was going to bed. So I've
Yeah.
had to pull my day forward. And
Yeah.
my last line manager was amazing for this. And
Okay.
I think that's what's important is role modeling.
Mhm.
And she'd be like, "What are you doing, Pooja? Like, why are you still here? Go home." Or, you're working, like, you've got too much on. Let's out resource that.
Yeah.
And her mentality is so different to what I'd had previously, where we all just got on with it. And she was like,
Mm.
"No, we're not resourced enough. We need to get more resource in and, live a normal life." And if I was on annual leave and I sent an email, she'd email me being like, "Why are you emailing me? Go away. Like, you're on a day off." And that whole flip, I think that's what changed for me.
Okay.
And that's where I think, as main contractors and as subcontractors, like, I'm employed and
Mm.
I have an employer and I have a boss, and she tells me to turn off my laptop and go away and she'll deal with it. And, we have rules and supports in place.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're self-employed, I remember I had a subby and he was on his way to Mallorca for a family holiday, and he owned the business and something had gone wrong and he heard about it and he had to ring me and he had to speak to me and he had to deal with me because there was no one else to do it. And
Mm.
when we're on holiday, dad will get phone calls because his work phone and his personal phone is the same. And it's those little things. Whereas I have a work phone, I just chuck my work. That's one thing I'm great at. I rarely pick up my
So
phone if I'm abroad or anything like that.
the mobile phone example is the best example in the world, right? So I'll be stood there with my wife. She'll be chatting away to me, chatting away, and I'll be like this. Right, so I've got to organise a delivery. Oh, right, that's that delivery's not going to. And I'll stop and she'll go, James, what did I just say? And I can't. I'm not too sure. And that'd be like Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, something like that, where I should be out where I don't know, go for a walk, have a coffee or whatever we do.
Yeah,
I should be there, right? I shouldn't be trying to sort
yeah.
out what's happening Monday, but it's the nature of the beast. It is the nature of the beast.
Do you think it's the nature of the beast or it's what we've allowed the beast to become?
Ah, good question. I think the size, the sheer size and velocity. If you move right, I mean, not for me so much, but if you move into the main contracting one, the sheer size and velocity of the supply chain is naturally going to cause that. It's just huge, and
Mm,
you count on everyone happening together. It's tough, right? So it causes the
mm.
problems. Um, but yeah, I do. The bigger part of me thinks it's something that we just, oh yeah, well, we work Saturdays, something with
This is
construction. Well, why don't people in
because this
why
is
don't people in marketing go, oh, we're in marketing, aren't we? So we do content on Saturdays. Why not? Why is it only
yeah.
us?
Do you think, and this is where, you know, I work for a company that's trying to do a lot in the mental health space, and you know, I know someone that I've lost. I didn't know them for long. I knew them for a couple of months, and then I got told that they'd committed suicide in the industry. And, that really hit me. And I hope that never stops upsetting me. Someone I knew. And, you hear all these statistics, and I really believed in it. But that knowing that and that happening is very different. And I think what then hit me is like, this is unacceptable. Like, it always was unacceptable, but we need to stop it even faster, this pandemic, and how can we do that? And then I was looking back and thinking about our sites, and with smaller sites, it's easier if you want to, as a main contractor, to create that team atmosphere. And I think another loose link for me is agency staff, whether that's blue collar or white collar. They again are another a link that sometimes goes. And we had a young guy, he was 20, he was agency labourer for us. And I'm telling you, James, he's one of my biggest inspirations because he didn't have any support at home, and yet he was determined to make something of himself. And he'd get under obstacles and obstacles. And what we did was we took him under our wing, and my foreman was amazing. And he's not a touchy feely guy, doesn't like talk. He would hate like if we were having this discussion. But without any of us discussing it, we knew that the agency staff needed to be treated like direct labour. And I said, that's how we're going to run the site. This is how we're going to do it on this site. And he had some really tough times. And I remember once someone coming to me saying, you need to go and speak to him. And we were in a cafe, and there was loads of other guys about. And I sat down and I said, are you all right? And he just burst into tears. And he was like, this is what's wrong. This is what's happened. I said, right, we'll sort it. We're a team here. We'll sort it. Don't worry about your job. Go away, sort out what you need to. Your job's here. Don't worry about the agency. We'll speak to them. And it just shows me the power that we have as main contractors. And I know that's easier on a small job. Like we were £9 million job, and we knew the stuff. But for me, that foreman taking an interest, the site team taking an interest and being like, this is someone that we're going to help, and he needs it, to me is so powerful. And why can't that be upscaled? And Mates in Mind, one of like a couple of years ago, our health and safety officer said, we're going to do Mates in Mind. And it was when it was before it was like common thing. And I like got in a room with the subbies, and it was all mixed. So you'd have some management, and we did the session, and I was just like, this is amazing. Like, if one person gets help from this is great. And that's something that he was passionate about and decided to do for everyone on that site. And that was a bigger job. That was about 60 million. And it's that all of this, and your talk and that panel was so eye-opening to me, because I'm like, yes, we're doing great stuff for our people. I have an EAP. I have a peer-to-peer support. Sorry, EAP's Employee Assistance Program.
Yeah.
I have financial well-being sessions where they got financial advisors into us to help with retirement.
Yeah.
I have all of that. But what do my dad, and it goes back to that. What
This is
does he
it.
have? He has me Googling stuff for
Yeah.
him, or him Googling it.
And
And
this is it. And this is what I'm really passionate about. Is I think we're very quick to just apply all the stress, the anxiety, the mental health issues. Everything comes from what's happening on that construction site. And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with it. I take a lot of it. I think, yes, a lot of it could be better.
yeah,
But there's a lot of problems that come from being self-employed. Whether you're a self-employed hairdresser, carpenter, electrician, whatever, the nature of the beast of being self-employed, you miss out on a lot of stuff.
yeah. And just understanding it.
Exactly that. And that's what we're definitely trying to address. We will get there. It's just it's getting that message across, and giving them support, because I think the worrying thing is a lot of lads, they genuinely think, well, I can't get that. I'm CIS, I'm never going to get a mortgage. I can't get a mortgage.
Yeah.
It's crazy. How many guys think that?
And I think what worries me, the whole thing with like that young person that I was speaking about, it was their first time on site, their first time being like self-employed. And it was like, how did you get yourself sorted? Oh, I just asked so and so and used his accountant and he did it. And I was like, did he do it right? Is anyone checking it? And he was like, oh, but I just trusted so and so and it's fine. And I was just like, like,
yeah.
and the only thing I knew of was the Lighthouse charity. And again, we've had this conversation about when charities are your only support. And I was like, maybe you should bring them up. I think they give like advice, or Construction Line. I think they give financial advice. And I just didn't know where to direct him to make sure that he was making the right decisions, because he's making them so early on and then he's going to be stuck with them.
No, it's tricky. It is. It really is. So, you and me, terrible. We could sit here for hours. This podcast could turn into a feature film. Let's wrap it up. Give me one or two of your big takeaways with recognizing you were stressed and dealing with the stress. Just one takeaway for each.
I think it's listen to the people around you. Like
Okay.
I was in, and listen to yourself. Like I was in denial, and I just, I just didn't think that I'd embedded into the industry that much that I was going to be in denial. So they would be my two. Listen to the people around you and
Okay.
listen to your body.
Great. Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, Pooja. Thanks for taking the time. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that you'll be
I
on
look
this.
forward to our next CIOB
That's it.
panel together.
Have a
And
great Christmas, and thanks for being here. All right.
you too.